welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel, #MovieBay. I am MovieBay, and in this video, I am going to be doing a review over episodes 5 through 8 of the Traitors US. But before I get into it though, I would like for y'all to drop down and hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Because here on MovieBay, I do reviews, reactions, and commentary to movies and television. And if that is the type of content that you like, then you might as well hit the subscribe button and stick around. And if you find yourself enjoying my commentary along the way, don't be afraid to give me a thumbs up and or drop a comment down below. Now, this is a composite review because I'm a little bit behind. So let's go ahead and get into episode 5. So episode 5 begins when we're coming off of the Housewives versus the people from the competition shows, and Parvati and Dan ganging up on Phaedra. No, Parvati more particularly ganging up on Phaedra at the round table. So they decided they're going to give Phaedra control over the kill for the episode, and she decides to get rid of a housewife, Tamra. And that was a smart choice for Phaedra because it would rid the suspicions of a housewife being a traitor. Due to the fact that why would they eliminate one of their own people? This episode was also the rise of Peter. And if y'all are on episode 8 already, y'all already know why I say the rise of Peter. So Peter has 3 prime suspects: CT, Dan, and Parvati. So he comes up with this plan to lie about the shields for that challenge. He tells his suspects that he and Janelle have the shield because it's believable. Both he and Janelle go hard for shields. But in all actuality, Trishelle and Bergie have the shields. His hope is to catch the traitors up and that they will go for someone who actually has a shield, and only 3 people would have known who, quote unquote, didn't, quote unquote, have the shield. Does that make sense? Is that making sense? It'll make sense later. So also in this episode, Also in this episode, Janelle is going super hard on Dan because he's just not giving anything. And she honestly tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because, you know, of their history. But he's not offering up any names, any assistance at all when it comes to catching traitors. And MJ, out of all people, gives Dan the heads up on this. That was so weird to me. I guess MJ doesn't like Janelle more than she doesn't like Dan. Kevin and others are also suspicious of Janelle because primarily how hard she goes for the shields, and she brings up a lot of names for banishment, and they have all been faithfuls. So at the round table, Alan tells the group that 75.5 is the prize pot, and Kate from season 1 returns, and she is assigned to be a faithful. Now, if y'all didn't watch season 1, Kate was so miserable after her homegirl was like the second person banished, and the traitors kept her around just because she was miserable. She lasted up to like the final 5, y'all, and was complaining the whole entire time. Kate is upset that she is assigned to faithful because she would have liked to come back as a traitor. Keep that in mind for later episodes. Now, Janelle calls out Dan, CT, and Sandra at the round table, and others chime in and say that Dan, if you are a faithful, you are a bad faithful because you're not helping and you're not giving a name. They press him for a name, and he finally says Janelle. Eventually, Janelle is banished at the round table. Peter is really hurt because he and Janelle were growing close. After the round table, he does share with his alliance, John, Bergie, and Kevin, people that he feels are faithfuls, of his plan to catch the traitors by trapping them, saying that he and Janelle actually have the shield, hoping that they go for Bergie or Trishelle. Now, at the Traitors Tower, they try to, recall the day and figure out, catch everybody up to speed on what's going on. And Dan says, we have a problem with these shields, but Peter told me that, hey, I'm trusting you. I'm letting you know I have a shield. And Parvati was like, oh, he told me the same thing, so he must be lying. Why, y'all? Why did Dan say, nah, I don't think he's that savvy. I think he's telling the truth. Well, Dan, baby, be honest. Why would he tell you when he and Bergie, especially Bergie, and he's cool with Bergie, they suspect you, baby. Like, what? But Dan is set on Bergie because Bergie is hot on his trails. and wants to banish him as soon as he gets the chance to. So Dan decides, hey, I want control of this kill. It needs to be Bergie. And I'm just looking like, bro, you have really lost your touch. It's obvious that you haven't been on TV since in like 10 years. Let's go ahead and get into episode 6. So episode 6 begins at breakfast, and Dan and Parvati are visibly shooketh, honey, shaking in their boots, squirming in their chairs when Bergie walks through the door. Now, of course, Peter is elated because he knows that his plan worked. Hashtag checkmate. Now, Bergie and Peter decide to share the plan with the entire table that they lied about who had shields so that the traitors could go for someone who they thought didn't have a shield, which of course exposed 3 people: CT, Parvati, and Dan. And rightfully, Parvati is upset with Dan because she has been exposed. Now, I would like to say this. Peter, claps to Peter, because this was a great plan and the only plan that has ever been initiated by a faithful throughout all seasons and all franchises. Now, keep in mind, I haven't seen UK season 2 because I don't have VPN, but as far as season 1, out of all the franchises in this season 2, he has been the only faithful to actually initiate a plan, and then, of course, that plan actually worked in order to catch a traitor. So claps to you, Peter. Great game player. Who would have thunk it, right? Not Dan. Not Dan at all. Now that Peter's plan has worked, Dan and Parvati enter Operation SOS. Save ourselves. Parvati talks to Peter, and he tries to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she gives him nothing to change his mind. Dan talks to Peter, and he lets him know, please, don't try to banish me. I haven't taken my shot yet. I've been planning this for a long time. I will say a name at the round table. And the whole time, I'm just thinking like, this is so suspicious. This is the most suspicious y'all could ever have looked. You see CT? CT was also a part of that trap. Do you see CT making his rounds to Peter, trying to save himself? No. Wanna know why? Because CT is a faithful. But these 2 idiots, who are supposed to be like the best game players of their shows, are playing very horrible games right now. Like, let's be honest. So at the round table, the prize pot is up to 95.5 if y'all actually care about that. And Dan decides that he is going to start speaking. Dan says, let's play a game. Okay? Raise your hand if your name has never been written down. Okay? Is that enough for banishment? No. But let's go ahead and go down the list. Okay? Let's talk about how these people who have never been voted for, how they have voted in the past. Okay? So now, after he narrows that down, it's down to Parvati and Phaedra. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, snap. Because I thought that he was going to go for Phaedra. I really did. And then at this moment, I was like, oh, he might actually go for Parvati. That would be the smart thing to do because Parvati in your name floating around. Okay? Okay. So the moment he said, the person I've been watching from day one is Phaedra, when I tell y'all Parvati's face lit up, it made me want to throw up in my mouth. I could not stand it. I can't stand their little duo that they think they got going on. So Dan's reasons for naming Phaedra is because she voted for Ekansu, and then Ekansu was eliminated. Her breakfast reactions every time somebody is eliminated. Not my burgerlicious. And his final reason is the fact that everybody likes you, so no one would expect you. No one would suspect you at all. So, of course, as y'all know, our good homegirl Phaedra, she shut all that shit down. All right? She shuts it all down. And, of course, ironically, we know Phaedra's a traitor, but she defends herself very well. I mean, come on, y'all. She's a lawyer. I don't think Dan knew the resume. And not only is she shutting down all his reasons, Kate is also riding hard for Phaedra like, oh, so not my burgerlicious, that really sent you over the top, huh? But y'all, I wrote down this quote. Of Phaedra. She said, I do too much because you do too little. But right now, you're doing way too much because you're about to get banished. Period. Shut that down. Then she brings up the fact of the shield trap, which of course brings up Parvati and Dan's names again. Now, Parvati decides that she's going to try to bring up Peter's group, and if you're not in Peter's group, you're going to be banished next. And then she does throw a little quick slight and says, I might have trusted the wrong person in Dan. I'm like, Dan, you did all of that. You tried to throw Phaedra under the bus just for Parvati to give you a little jab at the end. Shaking my head. And of course, in the end, Dan is banished. Now, I think we can all agree that Dan played a horrible game. In Big Brother, he did dominate. His typical strategy of laying low and attacking at the very end did not work for this particular game of the Traitors. I was super excited when he was going to be on the show. I was super excited when he was a traitor. He just didn't execute or live up to or his expectations, if we're being honest. Like I said, his strategy from Big Brother just didn't work in this setting of being quiet. It made everybody super suspicious of him. And fortunately, because he threw Phaedra under the bus, Dan is gone. So now we're down to 2 traitors, Parvati and Phaedra. And as y'all know, when a traitor is lost, a traitor can be recruited. And they decide, Parvati decides that she wants to recruit Peter. She wants to turn Oh Ye Holy Faithful into a traitor and watch him eliminate all of his friends. Let's talk about this decision, because it's some pros and some cons to it. Okay, here are the pros. For Peter, nobody would expect Peter to be a traitor because he is leader of the faithfuls, quote unquote. Okay, so that's a good thing for his gameplay. However, that is a bad thing for Parvati's gameplay because they're going to eliminate you before they eliminate him. So he's more than likely to win at the end. Now, Parvati's thinking keep your enemies close, but how hard he's been going for him to switch if they're now working together would bring suspicion onto both of them. I mean, possibly get him eliminated first before her. I don't know. I just really thought that it wasn't a good decision for them to go for Peter. I think that they should have recruited Kate. But one thing I like that Phaedra is doing and that she's been doing, a lot of people don't like that Phaedra's not speaking up in the Traitors Tower, but I think she's playing a great game because she is letting them make decisions that ultimately, and it's been proven, are hindering their games, Dan and Parvati's game. So like, yeah, y'all can make out of, y'all want to eliminate them? Okay, go ahead. Because that's bringing suspicions onto y'all and not Phaedra. Makes sense? So I think Phaedra is playing a great game. Now her name is out in the atmosphere though, so let's see where that goes in episode 7. Episode 7 was a filler episode, so this won't take long to get through. They did decide to recruit Peter, and Peter declines. He didn't want to say anything at the breakfast table about the recruitment letter, but Parvati won't let it go. Everybody suspects because there was no murder that somebody was recruited, and Parvati just starts like throwing hints at towards Peter and Peter's direction. And then he kind of slips up and says, well, Parvati, I guess you're not a traitor since I'm still here. And she uses that like, wow, what a change of heart, Peter. So she is trying to plant seeds that maybe he was recruited. Now, later, Peter does share with his clique that he did receive a recruitment letter and he swears that he declined it because he did. During this meeting, Trishelle suspects Phaedra is a traitor because Dan brought Phaedra's name up at the round table, possibly to save himself. But Peter quickly shoots down her idea and says that they need to stick to Parvati. Now, Phaedra walks in on their Peter Pals meeting and is dismissed, and that causes a problem with everyone else in the house. This leads to Sandra devising a plan. Peter Pals versus the leftovers. And basically it's a numbers game at this point because anybody who is outside of the Peter Pals is vulnerable to be banished. And of course, everybody wants to win no matter if the leftovers, there are traitors in them or not, they could be voted out by the Peter Pals. So the house decides that they have to eliminate someone from Peter's clique just for numbers purposes so that faithful or not, they have a chance to stay around. Now, CT, who is the only guy that was over in the leftovers, decides to tell Peter that, hey, yo, you up for banishment tonight. So this causes Peter to frantic. He decides to pull Phaedra and Parvati to the side. I have no idea why he pulled Phaedra. Maybe something Trishelle said did stick in his brain. But he pulls Parvati and Phaedra aside, and he asks if they could work together. I honestly don't know why Peter would do this. We'll talk about it in episode 8. But he was trying to save himself by working with the person, Parvati, that he thinks is a traitor. Okay. But he didn't really, I don't know, because Phaedra walked out. And Parvati was like, why would you want to work with me if you think I'm a traitor? So that conversation really didn't go anywhere. Now, there is no round table for this episode, but there is a fire pit of trust. And everybody gets to save one person from being eliminated. And if you are not given a If you are not giving a torch, you are up for murder. Okay. So the people who did not receive a torch were Bergie, Parvati, MJ, Trishelle, and Kate. So at the Traitors Tower, Parvati and Phaedra go through their options. They think Bergie is Peter's yes man. MJ won't ever be banished, so we can't use her for a shield. Trishelle is also in the Peter Pals, and Kate would be great to recruit later on if they get another chance. And that is the end of episode 7. So let's go ahead and get into episode 8. So at breakfast, because Peter was saved during the fire pit of trust and was not allowed to be taken out by the traitors, they decided to go for the next best thing, which is Bergie. Now, as the audience, dramatic irony, y'all. As the audience, we wanted them to take out Trishelle because we knew Trishelle was targeting Phaedra, but Phaedra nor Parvati were privy to those conversations. Only we were. So the best move for Phaedra and Parvati were to get rid of Bergie, the second in command of the Peter Pals, okay? And let's be honest, Trishelle was at the bottom of the Peter Pals alliance, like right above MJ, because MJ was quickly given the boot, okay? Trishelle has no weight in that alliance. She brought up Phaedra's name episode 7, and they immediately shot her down. So, why would we go for her if she is making no waves in that alliance, okay? However, in this episode, Trishelle is determined to get her opinion heard about Phaedra. So she goes and tells Peter about her suspicions of Phaedra. And he is still convinced, no, let's go with Parvati. This is until Kevin walks in. And when she tells the plan to Kevin, Kevin's like, oh, yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah. Because Parvati is this wounded bird. And she has no friends. But Phaedra's well-liked. And she'll never be banished, ever. Okay, let's put a pin in this real quick. I agree. Parvati doesn't have anybody. Can take her out whenever. Phaedra has a lot of friends, okay? And she might not ever be banished. However, that's exactly why you shouldn't try to go for her at the round table. With a person like Phaedra, just same way as Sari, you need to start dropping seeds along the way. You can't just spring a person who is well-liked up at a round table. That's not going to work out in your favor. Okay, so after Kevin is on board, then Peter decides, okay, I'm on board too. So Parvati and Peter, they sit down and they have a truce, and he lets her know that we're going to go out for Phaedra so we can get some of the heat off of you. Why? I don't know. Why do they want to work with, I don't know. Do they just need another number? They probably just need another number. I wish that they had explained their thought process of saving Parvati as opposed to Phaedra, aside from Phaedra being more dangerous, because I just told y'all why that made no sense like 10 seconds ago. Because what it's giving is a certain type of favoritism, if you see what I'm saying. So the Peter Pals are going around planting seeds, letting everybody know that they're going to vote for Phaedra, but they're not giving anybody a reason why. They're telling everybody that they're going to wait until the round table to do so. Issue number 1. Okay, actually, technically, issue number 2. Issue number 1 is they just switched cold turkey from Parvati to Phaedra. Issue number 2, now you're not telling anybody a reason until the round table. Why are you keeping people in the dark? Okay, so the Peter Pals aren't the only people going around the house. Parvati is also going around the house trying to get numbers in her favor, telling everybody that, she's just has this hard exterior shell and she feels like she's attacked and she was prejudged because she aligned herself with Dan and Dan happened to be a traitor, blah, 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 blah. I think she's doing a good job. I'm not going to hold you. She's very convincing. And it gives psycho. I'm like, no way somebody can really just turn it on and turn it off like that. That type of person is dangerous in real life. If you know, you know. Now let's get to this round table. So at this round table, Trishelle decides that she's going to lay out the reasons why they will be voting for Phaedra tonight. And it's because she's never surprised at breakfast. She's never nervous. Dan threw out her name. And of course, she has eye convulsions. Now, if y'all know Phaedra like I know Phaedra, Phaedra is super animated. She makes funny facial expressions all the time. She makes funny comments all the time. So now all of a sudden, since day one, people have been watching Phaedra. Like, girl, get on. Now, John is the only person out of the Peter Pals who is not on the Phaedra train. He is sticking to Parvati. He says she is a duchess of deception and a mistress of murder. And baby John loves his alliteration, okay? Now, Kate says what I feel like everybody is wondering. Why the sudden change? Why all of a sudden y'all were so gung-ho for Dan, got him out. So gung-ho for Parvati, but now y'all switched to Phaedra? Like I stated, that is where they messed up. You should have just been dropping seeds about Phaedra and still go on the Parvati train. But because y'all just switched cold turkey, it's making everybody seem suspicious now. Especially because Phaedra brings up the backdoor deal with Peter and Parvati that Peter did not tell the other faithfuls. Now it's time to vote, and CT is just a ball of confusion. I just had to put that in there because CT doesn't know what's going on. He is so funny. But CT does kind of get the deciding vote factor, and with his vote, Parvati is eliminated. And on her way up to the podium, the Peter Pals were like, she's a traitor. So if you knew she was a traitor, why not just get her out and then go for Phaedra next? Y'all shot yourselves in the foot by jumping the gun. My thoughts on Parvati as a traitor is I don't think she was lying when she said that she, made a fault in trusting the wrong person, which was Dan, because if she didn't align herself with Dan so closely, I think that she would have been a good traitor. But when you come for the queen, baby, you get banished, period. So this leaves Phaedra as the solo traitor. And of course, she gets a chance to recruit, but this time it is an ultimatum recruit. They should have said the ultimatum recruit for Peter, just to let you know. But the ultimatum recruit, she decides to go for Kate. And I think Kate is going to accept because she wanted to be a traitor anyways when she came back for this season. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I was behind schedule, way behind schedule, but I'm going to try to be more consistent. And if not, you already know I'm still going to recap all the episodes. So make sure you hit the notification bell to stay tuned for when I post. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.